Hello, my name is Karina, and I am here today um, with an, a very important information that I would like to share with all of you. At the beginning, I did a video for that I thought it was going to be just for my family and friends in Spanish because I live in Chile. Um, And then, as I was actually doing it, I realized that the information that I was sharing was the type of information that everyone could benefit from. So I decided to do another video of the same information in English so that people who do not speak Spanish also have access to this information. Um, what I'm going to be talking about today is the signs of death. And the important part about speaking about the signs of death is that first, once they start appearing, there are three of them, the process is irreversible. And two, about the fact that the body, the physical body, is not feeling the pain of the process, which I will go into detail and explain. Why is it important to know that the process is irreversible? Because many times when people see someone experiencing the first sign, which is total sweat from head to toes, everything is wet, it's cold sweat. Um, when that happens, people don't know. It could be something else too. You know, when you have a drop in your blood pressure, same thing happens. So you'll have to see the other signs appearing as well to make sure that these are in fact the signs of death. Um, the idea of sharing this and explaining it step by step has to do with what we can do in our society like ours to make this process elevate itself to the real condition that it has. It's sacred. Just like it's very particular, and it's very strange for me to see that the most important processes in our human lives are birth and death, and they're both treated with such an indifference that is shocking. You know, we're born in a cold hospital where the hands that actually receive us are not particularly our husbands or partners or someone in the family, but a nurse or a doctor that not too long after that will slap the baby or slap us so that we can cry and take our first breath. It's like, what a way to arrive, you know? Like, and because of because I've seen and I love this movement of women giving birth at home, I strongly stand and support the idea of creating a movement where you can die at home in a peaceful surrounding, a surrounding you know, uh, with the people you love, accompanying you and helping you go through that very difficult transition process. So I think after all the sweat comes, what happens is that the person will feel weakness, you know, like very lightheaded and dizziness, and therefore from here onwards, that person will not be able to stand on their own feet nor to sit on a chair. Be extremely uncomfortable, and they have to lay in a comfortable bed, hopefully their own. Um, I was blessed with the opportunity of seeing uh, a beloved person, my uncle, go through this transition. And this is how I learned, and this is how I saw the signs of death, and I experienced what happens to the physical body when that is taking place. So in this culture, nobody teaches us how to die, nor how to die peacefully, and nobody teaches us how to help someone who is dying go through that transition in peace. You know, there's a whole context of fear around death that makes it very difficult, and it's a very taboo subject. You know, people get very scared or frightened, or they don't want to talk about it, which is an evidence of how people live their lives. You know, like most people think that when they say something not so nice to someone else, or I don't know, they say goodbye to someone, they're gonna see them the next day, and we have absolutely no certainty whether that last few words we said to that person are going to be our last, either ours or theirs, because they're not gonna hear anything else. So for us humans, the whenever we go to bed and we go to sleep, that is a rehearsal created by nature. It's a rehearsal of death. So it would be a very interesting way of approach it, you know, to be more prepared for this moment that isn't easy. Um, to maybe take it as such, you know, take it as a rehearsal, and every day, every night that you go to bed, close your eyes and think, if if I did die tonight, what would have been unsaid? What would be left undone? And that gives you a perspective on life and what and on what's important. And I think that the reason why I'm talking about this right now is because I think that the more prepared we all are as a society to face and deal with this natural process of life, it will be a lot easier for us to let go of our loved ones and help them truly, and also for ourselves to go in peace whenever our time comes. So, getting back on track, the first sign is complete sweat, cold, cold sweat, and fainting, kind of. The person is still aware, the person is still there. And then when the second sign kicks in, this is when most people panic. Because the second sign is that the gaze, the staring, is completely fixed on a point. And it's not a point that is there. You know, like if you're standing right in front of the person, you'll notice that it seems like they're looking like right through you, not at you. So when people are laying in bed, let's say, and they already have started the process where they're no longer looking at anything that is there, this is when most people panic. And this is when most people will grab their phones and call 911. But from where I'm standing right now, which is the sidewalk of love, um, if you truly love someone, um, and you have this information, because this is the thing, I mean, most people don't have this information. Doctors know, paramedics know, because they've seen the signs of death many, many times, so they're able to recognize them. But us, normal, common people, nobody shares this information with us, which is absolutely fundamental for us to understand A, the process of dying, and B, how to help the people we love. And the thing is that something very special and very beautiful starts happening at this point. And that is that the soul, spirit, consciousness, awareness, whatever name you want to give it, starts shrinking, you know, like pulling itself into a smaller surface, let's say, and traveling through the spine all the way up, starts elevating. That's what's happening. You know, like when the person's no longer staring at anything in particular, and it's not, you can do this exercise and they will not follow your fingers. That's what is happening. The soul is starting to elevate itself through the spinal cord to a point that is around here, around this area, all of this. And when that happens, the person who's laying there is no longer feeling their body at all. They don't feel anything, like nothing at all. There's no physical pain because that soul is preparing to find their spot of exit. The important part here is that when we panic and we call 911 to have the paramedics come, very few paramedics or doctors will be completely honest in this part. Not because they are dishonest. I want to make that very clear. It's because it's very, very hard to be completely honest when people are panicking. You just want to calm them down, or get them out of the way. So probably if you're panicking, they will take you out of the way, and they will do something that is completely detrimental and painful, very painful for the person that is about to leave. And that is that if the person, because I'm talking about natural death here, I'm not talking about accidents or any other kind of death that might be there. I'm just talking about natural death. And natural death, we all die of the same thing, which is cardiorespiratory arrest. The heart and the lungs stop functioning. There's not enough oxygen to travel through the blood. So the third sign is that the nails start getting tainted with a color that is kind of like bluish purplish from from the beginning of the nail to the edge of it. When that is happening, the cardiorespiratory arrest is absolutely imminent, which means that this process is irreversible. And this is what most paramedics or doctors will not say. Although I had the pleasure to meet Jasmine's daughter, and she told us the story that when her grandmother was dying, the paramedics came and they looked at her and they looked back at her and said, "What would you like to do? Like, would you like her to die here with you? Or would you like us to take her and die either in the ambulance or in the hospital with us?" Very few paramedics will actually say that, because they know. Because when these signs have appeared, the process is irreversible. There's absolutely nothing you can do to make that loved one stay with you. The only thing that you can do is to choose how they're gonna die and where. So when people call 911, what happens is that if the cardiorespiratory arrest has already started, which is the blue nails, when it's actually occurring and it's in that process, what they will do is either A, put oxygen, or B, use the shock, I don't know how you call it, the shocking machine to make the heart pump again. And the problem with that is that the soul that was already detached from from the sensations and from the physical body, because it's getting ready to take flight, gets pushed back completely into habitating the physical body again, and then they feel all the pain that entails for a body to be dying. And no one says that to us. So out of love, we try to do all we can, everything we can, and we call the doctors and they intervene the physical body. And what they do by doing that, with all the best intentions in the world, is to inflict an amount of pain that no one deserves to feel. Especially when they have to be concentrated on something much greater than it is how they're gonna do that journey, which is not an easy one, and it's very particular. So I don't know if any of you had read the writing that is about the stuff that Socrates said right before dying when he was taking the cicuta, the poison. He was surrounded by his friends, and one of them wrote what he said. And This illustrates what I am talking about and what I experienced, what I saw. Because he says, I can't feel from my knees down, but I am not my knees and I am not my feet, because I am here whole and complete. I haven't gone anywhere. And then he continues, like almost like every stage, he continues to describe what he's feeling. And when he reaches the hips, he says, I can't feel from my hip down, but I want you to know that I am here and I am whole and I'm complete and I'm not dead. And then it keeps on going up and he keeps on describing the same thing, and up to the point where he reaches the throat. And he says, at any moment now, I won't be able to speak, but I want you to know that I am here, I am whole, and I am not dead. So we're not our bodies. Our bodies die. But what habitates our bodies are far greater than what we can comprehend. And it does not fit with the laws of physics in this planet. So when we intervene that process, because either A, we don't know, or B, we're very attached to the person that is going, we are not helping, and nobody tells us how to help. So what I wanted to do in this video was to shed some light and bring some awareness to how to go through this process and how to help someone you love have a peaceful death. And there are some traditions, very old ones too, that say that you can, of course, whilst this process is going, they can hear you. You can tell them everything. And what a person that is leaving, that is definitely not controlling the process, therefore they cannot stay. The worst thing you can do is to ask them to stay, or to tell them things like, if you leave, I won't be able to live. I can't live without you. Don't leave me. Don't go. You can't do this to me. That is very anguishing, and it's excruciatingly painful for someone who is trying and giving the best they can in doing what they need to be doing at that moment, with the fear that may have. Also, there are a lot of people who are very frightened of dying. So if you really truly love yourself and the people around you, good things to say at that time are, we'll be okay. We'll be sad for a moment, we'll be sad for a while, but we will be okay, we'll manage. Continue your journey, go to the light, we'll be fine. You've done everything you can. Thank the person for whatever experience has touched your life. Farewell them properly. So when that moment comes, because that's the last sign, but it's not really a sign because it's kind of like farewell. It's called the death rattles. And what happens is that you start hearing these sounds around the throat, and they correspond with the last breaths. It has happened to, I've seen it twice, and there are 3 of them, but they can be more or less. I don't know. It will depend on the person. And when this happens, it's almost like the sound of the last breath and the soul taking off. That's what they're so weird. If any of you have actually heard them, they're very strange. They're very strange noises. And the last one, usually the tongue comes out and blocks the airway completely and sticks out a little bit. When that happens, that's it. But if you want to make sure, then that soul is no longer there inside that body, has already gone out. You can have a mirror and put it in front of their face to see if it has any bowel steam, coming from the breath, and encourage them to go to the light, that they've done everything they needed to do, that everything is okay, that you will be fine, and encourage them to go to the light. And that's it. The time that it will take to move from the first sign to the second, and from the second to the third, and so on, will depend on the person. It's a very personal process, and it's very linked with how well prepared that person was to die. When you have a person that's been ill for a while, and they know they're going to, well, we all know we're going to die, but it seems like we don't. But when you have a person that has a terminal illness and has been preparing for this moment, usually they have less time from one sign to the other, because most of all the things that they wanted to say, or things that they wanted to thank for, or things they wanted to do, have already been done. So the process is far quicker, and it's a lot easier. Now, when you have a person that has never thought about death, that has lived their lives as if they were going to be eternal, that process can take a very long time, especially if that soul needed to apologize or say something very particular to someone and that person's not in the room. They can actually be there waiting until that person arrives. And it's not unheard of that, I don't know, like a son arrives from another country and enters the room, and the father sees them, and then they leave, because that's all they needed. So it will depend on the conditions of the person who is actually departing, how the process will be, and how fast or how many hours there will be between one sign and the other. The way I can ratify or certify or that this is truly like this, meaning that when the eyes are already stuck in one place, the soul starts elevating and the body does not feel anything, was because we, and I say we because Jasmine and I and the kids were there, and I remember sticking my nail, like as hard as I could with all the strength that I had into every single one of his fingers, and there was absolutely no response. Then we grabbed a needle and we actually pinched each one of his fingers again to make them bleed, to stop the possibility of having a stroke. And he didn't felt it. He didn't feel it at all. And when my dog died, Blanco, he died by poisoning. He was poisoned, and after doing a lot of things to provoke him to throw up, so that he will throw up the poison. I had no extra measurements to take, and a lady that was there told me that the most almost like extreme measure that I could take, as he had already drank milk and oil and detergent so that it will provoke the vomit. She said that I could cut his ear. That if I cut his ear, or the tip of his ear, that there was a possibility that he could bleed the poison out of his blood. At that point, I was willing to do anything, and I grabbed the scissors and I cut his ear, and he did not feel a thing. He wasn't there. He was there, but not connected to the sensations of his physical body. Neither was my uncle. So the motivation to do this video is for us to have more awareness and more education and information when it comes to natural death, because it is a natural process that has different stages for a reason. when you let it happen naturally, that person is not going to suffer any pain at all. The problem is nobody says these things to us, so we don't know that by intervening the physical body, we're creating an amount of pain no one deserves to feel. So the idea to spread this message is for us to become acquainted with death, and to know, for those of you who are frightened of her, she's the most beautiful thing you could ever think of. She truly is like a mother that comes to take you by the hand and make sure you're all right, arriving where you need to go. And when we're afraid of her, we will project onto her our fears, and that is exactly how she will come. She will wear those clothing, those suits that we put onto her. But when we're not frightened of her, when we're aware that she's a natural process of life, she'll come as she is. She's astonishingly beautiful. And so this is an invitation to let her be what she is, and truly. And to also be mindful of what helps and what doesn't help in a situation like that. How would you like to go? In an ambulance filled with tubes? In a hospital with people that don't know you and that don't care because they've seen so many people die? Or in your bed, surrounded by the people you love and that love you? And if you love them, you'll let them go in peace, with a smile on your face, saying thank you, and I am so happy and blessed and glad that I have met you and that you've been part of my life. Go in peace. We'll be okay. That is love. Anything else, it may be hard to hear it, but anything else is selfishness. Don't leave, I can't live without you. How is that going to make your loved one feel? Helpless. They can't stay. It's not up to them. So maybe the idea of this is bring awareness to that beautiful process, that sacred process that we all have to go through and that nobody talks about. And so that when our time comes, or when the time of a very beloved being comes, we can act from knowing and from love, and not from selfishness and disinformation. So I hope that this message or this information is useful for you, and thank you.